Hey, look at myself on a screen over there. Yes, you guessed it. We're in the new studio. The new studio is not yet put together, but we've got many elements ready to rock. I don't know what you can see. Oh, okay. So here, maybe Eric, you want to grab the camera?
Yeah, let's do it.
Now, we're on a cable here. This is not a Wi-Fi connection, Bluetoothy, whatever. So you're going to have to forgive us. We're early days here. Early days of the studio, but we wanted everybody to see. So this is our brand new console. Everybody's asked what we got. Well, we got the Audient ASP4816, the Heritage Edition. It's absolutely gorgeous. We just put it in, so, you know, as you probably know, I used to have the 24-channel version of this same console. I had that console, and it was over at Harmony. But I also had the other room with the SSL, the old Spitfire. This is the new Spitfire. So, yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. This room is designed by Jay Kaufman. Eric's showing it off nicely. It is ridiculous. So speaker tests in here are going to be insane because the room is flat as a calm river on a calm day, flat as reclaimed land in the Netherlands. That's for the Europeans. Flat as reclaimed land in the Netherlands. Anyway, so yeah, we've got the Genel X currently up, the 1032s. We've got our Jones Scanlon. We did also recently get sent these. So these are the Phantom Center Auratones, and they sent us them to try out. So we're going to review these very, very soon. They look absolutely amazing, and they sound wonderful. A couple of other friends of mine have them, and they're really, really great. The company's called Symphonic Acoustics. I'm really super excited. They're made in the US of A, United States of America. So very, very excited. They're also very substantial, like they weigh something. They've got a lot of love and care and attention. Now, like I said, quite a few friends of mine have these, so I know they are superb. So Phantom Center, the tone reference Symphonic Acoustics. So yeah, this is model 100. This is 151. So we've got 151. So if you turn around here, we've got the beginnings of our rack gear going in here. We've got, of course, the Pultex, the Steve Jackson Pultex. We're never gonna get rid of that because it's such a big part of our bass guitar sound. I think we've talked about this many times. Poor old Eric, there's just gear all over the floor. Look down here, so you can give, we are still moving stuff in. So, and this is just one of two control rooms. We're renting out the other control room to somebody very, very well known, but because they're not in here yet and I haven't asked their permission whether I can say who it is, I'm not going to say who it is. But somebody absolutely amazing is renting out the room next to us. So we're going to have a great relationship with somebody really super cool. I've got other amazing information to tell you. So are you hearing me okay? Because the mic is all the way over there. Can everybody hear me okay? I'm not wearing a clip on. The mic is all the way over there. I can see level. I'm trying to speak up. Hopefully it's all good. It's not going to be as good as me being right up against it, but are you hearing me okay? Talk into the mic. Okay. All right. Well, we can't do, but obviously it is what it is. So anyway, so we're very, very excited. The new studio is beginning to happen. And it's really super exciting for us. We'll do a full tour and we'll put a clip-on mic on so there's no complaints. Keep everybody happy. And I just wanted to kind of quickly show you because this is very, very exciting for us. There's a massive area out there. There's a beautiful live room. This has been a culmination of a lot of work. And so thank you all of the Academy members and everybody who's been so supportive of the channel and helped us to, get into this situation. It's really, really amazing. And we're very, very excited to be able to film from here and showcase stuff and all of that good stuff. Great. So yeah. Oh, as far as like internet and stuff like that is concerned, we're just getting everything hooked up. So if it's a little slow, I apologize. Although I'm watching a live stream there and it seems okay. But I apologize. We're still getting everything up and running. We just wanted to kind of get you involved here because we've been here we've been here since Monday, moving in, and it is a mess. There is gear all over the place. It's definitely a transitional thing. But I was like, what do I do? Do I showcase what we're doing here, or do I, do I not do Feedback Friday? And I wanted to do Feedback Friday, and I wanted to tell everybody about it. All right, great. Let's get stuck in.
Don't mind me, everyone.
Eric's just putting it back up again.
Getting this back up. Cool.
Fantastic.
Bring it up a little more. All right.
God bless America. Here we are. All right. Sorry about the audio, and it pissed off a few people that were commenting negatively, and I'm sorry. We just we didn't really have any choice. We wanted to show you around a little bit quickly, but we had set up here. It's still the early days of the studio, and like I said, I didn't want to not do it this week. I really wanted to show you what we've been up to, because it's been a lot of work. And Eric's been here. What time did you leave? And Eric's had quite a few long days and nights.
It's been, my body aches in ways it's never ached before.
We're moving a lot of gear, a lot of van loads, a lot of car loads, a lot of stuff. Yeah. Okay. Let's get stuck in. I've got the pad here. I don't have a mouse. This is really strange. It's really strange not having a mouse. I don't think I've ever used one of these things down here. This is what Eric's given me. Why don't I have a mouse, Eric? I need a mouse. All right, so who do we got first, Eric? We have... Had to be in solo safe.
My fault.
That's all right. Okay. Let's see who up's first. Morton Anderson is up first. And what I do is click on here.
Oh, go down to the bottom dock.
Bottom dock.
Oh my God, I'll get it right.
You know where it is?
That window has disappeared.
Okay, maybe when you restarted it. Morton Anderson says, this is such a fun thing to do. I almost exclusively use the Waves SSL EV2 for this mix. I think this is my quickest mix ever. Hope it translates well. Okay. Excited to hear. Oh, here it is. You had two windows open.
Ah.
Okay. All righty, here it is. Side window. Well, the first exciting discussion is the time signature. I would call that 11/8, wouldn't you? Not 11/4, because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wouldn't you call that 11/8? I don't mind if you want to call it 11/4, but isn't that 11/8? Anybody? But yeah, isn't it great to have songs like that in the Academy? That one is that's Mark Daniel Nelson. And a really, really wonderful video that he did with this, and an amazing multi-track. So if you haven't already, please download those. I think Eric is about to post the link. Oh, no, we can't post the link because it's public. This is for Academy members only. Oh, we're streaming public. So, okay. Well, we should definitely do a giveaway of Academy membership then for people that aren't members and people that are already members and need another and would like to add a year to their existing membership. I love that song. It's really, really nice. I want to drop in a section and talk about it. So I think one of the things that happens quite often when we are mixing, myself included, I'm just going to raise this. I've got to get this a little higher. That happens is the mid-range. There's so much, most of the detail that we hear, especially as you get to sort of the 3 to 5K area. I say that as we get older because obviously when you're, under the age of 10 or whatever, you're still hearing like 17, 18, 19, 20, right up to there. But as you get older, that dissipates. But the detail that we hear is built around the human voice. And I know I've talked about this many times, and this actually comes from an old BBC engineer friend of mine, Julian Butcher, otherwise known as Jute, who is a good friend of mine. Jute, if you're watching, hello. And he's an amazing engineer, very talented outside broadcast engineer. And he used to say to me, he's like the telephone lines that they used to use for the BBC when they would do those talk things in the 70s and 80s, for any of you that remember this, was confined to 3 to 5K. It was EQ to just the 3 to 5K. And I was like, wow, that's insane. I was like, doesn't that sound terrible? And he's like, it's narrow, but believe it or not, that's all the information that people needed to differentiate one person's voice from another. So you remember when you used to listen to the BBC radio stuff, for those of you in the UK, or listen to BBC World Service, you'd hear something that was kind of narrow like this, but you knew who the person was. So why am I waffling on about this? I'm waffling on about that because that is the area that our ears are most sensitive. Because if there's one thing our ears are good for, it's listening to human voices. That's where we are tuned into, because of course we are communicating with each other all the time. So waffle leads me back to this point. Have a listen to this section. Now I went there because you can hear the 11/8 or the 11/4 acoustic guitar playing there, and it's kind of a little bit kind of crowded in that area, and it starts to become, even if it's not distorted as such, it started to feel like that because you've got a lot of acoustic guitar going on there. You've got a bit of the snare, so you hear the snare bottom. Obviously, you've got that area in the vocal, electric guitars, anything kind of pilking around. They're all inhabiting that area. So what I like, in the real world when I'm using hardware, believe it or not, remember that stuff? A Manley, for instance, like a Verimue, was always really, really good on electric guitars and acoustics because it smoothed out the high end ever so subtly. And back when we had more money than we needed, budgets to mix and make records, you could put individual units like that on everything. So what do I suggest? I suggest that in that kind of mid-range area, you get into a little bit more detail working. De-essers can be really great. Acoustic guitars that are kind of a little kind of like sitar-ish or whatever, using a de-esser and finding those frequencies that are a little offensive can be really good. The reason why I say a de-esser, because every DAW, every DAW comes with a free de-esser. So that might be something to do on that acoustic just to smooth it out a little bit. Also, personally, I find mid-range on acoustics more pleasing than high-end. I tend to go in about 115 and boost a little bit of that, a bit of toughness. I often talk about when we did all the pre-production for Californication with the Chili Peppers and Rick Rubin. One of the things I realized with working with them, I think we did 3 albums at my old studio, was they used small body acoustics. They didn't use the big body, which had the big boom at the bottom, which was always cut out anyway. And they didn't have the searing high-end sizzle. It was very mid-rangey. So if you go back and listen to some Chili Peppers records that Rick Rubin did, the acoustic guitar is unique sounding. It is really, really good, but it's very mid-rangey. So I think in this instance, Morton, I would probably take some of your high-end boost, or at least tame it with a de-esser, and maybe push up like 1-2, just a little bit. So it's a little bit more in the mid-range. And I think that would stop it feeling like a little bit cloudy and cluttered, I think is a better word, sorry. A little cluttered in the area. Check it out again, see what I mean.
Jimmy doesn't like shoes, he doesn't like the way they...
And I think the other thing is I love bottom snare. I do. And I love body on snare. But it's always track dependent. Some snares I like, you'll hear me do, these live streams and you'll talk about I want more ring. Almost sometimes a little bit of saturation on the snare. So it's more aggressive. I think in this instance, the bottom snare is a little bit overblown, because it's fighting the bottom snare with the acoustic and everything. So I'm not getting a definition of quite the snare. The acoustic's a little, and it's giving me a lot of, I'm fighting to hear what's going on. Again, check out the area. It's like that almost feels like could it be the bottom snare playing, or is it the acoustic? We know what it is, but for an untrained listener who's not zeroing in on instruments, the overall area just feels like a lot of kind of going on. So I want definition in the high mids, and I think that is probably the number one thing on this particular mix, because the mix in general is a nice mix. I think with that snare kind of feel like there and the acoustic, I think a little less bottom snare, a little bit more attack on the snare, just a bit. I don't want it to be death metal, but I think it just needs to be a little bit more aggressive. So if you want to go in there and see if there's some ring on this snare at the 600-700 area, maybe a tiny bit of boost on there, I would not be opposed to a little tiny 1% of saturation on the top. Such a little amount, but it just kind of sucks in the initial attack of the transient and brings the volume of the rest of the body up. It needs more snare top, less snare bottom. Body is fine. You could put in some 120 to 200 and get a little bit more low end on there, but for me it's the bottom snare being a little bit too aggressive and the acoustic just being a little sizzly in there, that's just losing some clarity in the mix. I think if you could sort those two things out, the mix would completely open up. It would suddenly be like, wow, what an amazing mix. And it is a big deal for me to think globally, to always be able to look in there and try and find something that's globally an issue, rather than like getting in here and worrying about, oh, this needs to come up and that needs to come out. For me, globally, you sort out the relationship between the bottom snare and the acoustic guitar, and you get some separation between those two things. Only because it's in an area that's cloudy and cluttered, the whole mix will open up. Now, I want to say one last thing. Low end definition, mid-range definition. You get those two things going, your mix can be really, really wonderful. I don't have a problem with guitars and bass guitars gluing together in the low mids. In fact, I actually like that, where there's like a glue of those two things. So, I do cut low mids in things like drums quite dramatically. 350, nice big wide cut in almost every element of a drum is really important to me. Overheads, kick drum in particular, of course, toms a ton out of there, get that and then you can allow the bass guitar and the electric guitars and everything and pianos to kind of like glue together in that area. But you don't want it in the drums. But ultimately, the low end separation of having a good kick that's just coming in underneath the bass guitar, enough room for like 80 to 100 for the bass to bloom, some detailed work in that 3 to 5K area between the snare bottom and the acoustic guitar, and I think you'll have an absolutely amazing mix. All right, next up is Danielle. Thanks, Morton. I really appreciate the mix. And thanks to everybody that submits mixes, because when you do this, it allows us to have conversations and help each other. Danielle says, I really like this song. Simple, energetic, with a great bridge section. Comments and feedback welcome and appreciated. Thank you, Danielle. Let's check it out. And by the way, if you're not a member of the Academy, this is what we do every week. We go through and we listen to mixes and we discuss it. So this is Me in the City, Wild Ones.
Open up your heart, open up your mind, and don't let them keep you trapped inside. They'll never understand the way that you raise your hand. They'll never know just who you are. So keep your head up. Keep your eyes in front. I know where you're coming from. Don't be afraid. Go ahead and fall in love. Run with the wild one. It's so much you haven't done. It's not too late to settle all your debts. Kiss the ones you love and dance like you're really having fun. And don't be afraid to fall and go out and risk it all. And don't be afraid of who you are. She said she's just finding out this life is full of fear and doubt, but it won't stop her now. Don't stop, we're not giving up. Hold on, we got 'em on the run. It's only them or us. He said he's just finding out this life is full of fear and doubt, but he won't now. Don't stop, you're not giving up. Hold on, we got 'em on the run. It's only them or us. And we say we're just finding out this life is full of fear and doubt, but it won't stop us now. Don't stop, we're not giving up. Hold on, we got 'em on the run. It's only them or us. So keep your head up and keep your eyes in front. I know where you're coming from. Don't be afraid. Go ahead and fall in love. Run with the wild ones. It's so much you haven't done. It's not too late.
Firstly, what a wonderful, wonderful song and an amazing mix. I really like that mix a lot. So the band is called Me and the City, and the song is called Wild Ones. This was a band we worked with a few years ago. We worked with them when it was the height of, what's the name of that English band? Acoustic guitars, hugely popular. Anybody? Anyway, well, similar. So there was a lot of bands doing that kind of thing. Not that these were directly influenced by it, but definitely reminiscent of it. I'm really impressed with this mic. This mic? Yes, I'm impressed with this mic. No, I'm impressed with this mix.
So keep your head up, keep your eyes front.
There's a couple of moments of kind of psh, psh, psh in the high end. There I heard kind of like a little kind of like squealing on a cymbal. Subtle, and it adds to the energy in some ways. Like a little bit of the wrongness can actually be quite right. So don't be afraid to be a little wrong. In general, it's pretty darn good. Check out the acoustics. I think he's got the right, Danielle's got the right balance between high mids on the acoustic. Plus, of course, the panning and judicious use of panning can really help as well.
So keep your head up, keep your eyes front.
You hear that on the cymbals?
Keep your eyes front.
It's like 3K. You could go in there and pull out that 3K there.
Keep your eyes front. I know where you're coming from. Don't be afraid.
Happens a lot on those cymbals there. So it might be worth running a de-esser on the overheads on the right-hand side just to catch those little spiky moments about 3K.
Don't be afraid.
But it's a great testament to Danielle's mix that we're talking about subtle things like this, and we're praising these use of acoustics, the way they're panned, the way that they've got enough aggression, that they're bright enough with a lot of the body removed in a really tasteful way that's actually making them quite percussive, which I think is another thing that we can do with an acoustic. It can be a percussion instrument as well. It can be holding down the chords, but the movement, especially on a song like this, is really important.
Don't be afraid. Go ahead and fall in love. Run with the wild one. It's so much you haven't done. It's not too late to settle all your debts. Kiss the
Tim's asking if saturation on the cymbal could happen. It could, yeah. I don't mind the cymbals that much. They're definitely, and we all do this. In fact, the longer I've been doing this, the less bright I make cymbals. But when I first started mixing, I would always immediately go 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, brighten the cymbals because I wanted them to sit above, high end, above everything else, and I'd take out all the low mids and all the low end. And then the longer I did this, and especially figuring out how to get the overheads in phase with the rest of the drum kit, I do less and less and less. And now if I've got my overheads and they're well recorded, depending on who recorded them, but if they're well recorded and they can be a stereo version of the drum kit, and then I can get all the phase coherent, the polarity and everything working with the rest of the drum kit, I do less and less EQ. I tend to do less high-end boost, so I don't get that wispiness, but a little bit more like 350, big, low, mid cut. And then I start rolling off, you know, so the kick drum is barely in it. So it's a little bit more about body on the snare, no cardboardiness in the tom, so pulling out all the 350, and then just giving the overheads a chance to be a great, accurate stereo representation of the drum kit.
so much you haven't done. It's not too late to settle all your.
Oh, thanks, Kiefer. Thanks for saying that. That's one of my favorite albums that I ever produced. It's called Chapter of the Forest by Trevor Hall. I don't know if we've got Spotify handy here, but I'm sure Eric can paste a link if you want. So, yeah, Chapter of the Forest, Trevor Hall record. We have one song off of that, which is never released as a single, that has 78 million streams on Spotify, which is pretty crazy, just one song. The album did really, really well. And it's an independent artist. He's huge. So it's often people talk about independent artists and say how they can't make money. Well, he tours a lot and he does great. He does really, really well. So he's definitely somebody I would recommend you check out. Trevor Hall, and album I did with him. Well, I did a few, but Chapter of the Forest, great album.
So
I'm really digging the vocal. I love that kind of little bit of a slap and a bit of verb around it. This is very, very tasty mix. Very, very tasty mix. The things I think we're talking about are quite subtle. I don't imagine the kick or snare being more bombastic. They could be, and I think if this was a different genre and it wasn't acoustic based, normally I would be like, yeah, I want more thump on the kick. I want more aggression on the kick, more snap. That's what I'd normally be saying. But this is not that song. This is an acoustic guitar based, with some very simple kind of electrics. The vocals nicely featured. I love the slap delay on it. I love the little bit of verb around it. This is a very, very well mixed song. I think if you can just tame the overheads just a little bit, I'd be really, really happy. Really happy. And I think you could do that squeakiness with just a de-esser and maybe 1%, 5% less boost on the high end. A really, really tasteful mix, very much in keeping with the song. And that's a big deal, It's not just about like having all our mix tricks and knowing how to make a kick and snare sound aggressive and get a vocal up front and all that stuff. Yeah, it's great to know all those things. And we can watch hundreds of YouTube tutorials. I've done many myself teaching you how to do those things. But really, to be a great mixer, understanding what you're mixing is more important. I think there's a reason why Spike Stent is probably the number one mixer as far as amount of songs in the charts at the moment. My favorite mixer obviously is Bob Clearmountain, but Spike Stent's pretty much up there. I mean, somebody was like Spike is probably a big fan of Bob's. Don't get me wrong. I think most mixers are a big fan of Bob's. I love Mark Endert's work as well. Chad Blake. I mean, these are artists. I really love how their artistry and the way they do stuff. But you can't pin them down to a sound. You don't listen to a Spike Stent song and go, song that he's mixed because he might be mixing a Beyonce hit or he might be mixing a Muse song. So there's no genre there, and you don't hear the same snare on those two songs. But what you hear is somebody that understood how to enhance what was there. And I think Danielle did a really good job of that. Danielle's mix of that song is like he took what was there and made more of it. And I think that is what an artist would want. Like if the artist was choosing that, I produced that track, so I'm the producer, so I can speak from a certain perspective. That to me sounds like an enhanced version of what I recorded, and I think that is super, super important. All right, next up is Paulo, and give me a second to find the right page. And Paulo says, hello, it's a great song, had a blast mixing it. Would be great to hear comments on energy, impact, transitions, density, too much. And this is City Lights by the Workday release.
The city lights are far behind, and I can see it now that I'm on my own. Wheels up, head for the future. No more rust in here with the lifeless. Dig deep, say what you think, and I'm not gonna follow. Take off, show me the stars. I'm ready to leave. I'm ready to leave the city of flat broke. Show me the road to the good life, the good life, the good life. Take off, show me the stars. Away from the lights, away from the lights in the city of flat broke. Show me the road to the good life, the good life, the good life.
No more rust in here with the lifeless. Dig deep, say what you think, and we're not gonna follow. Take off, show me the stars. I'm ready to leave. I'm ready to leave the city of flat broke. Show me the road to the good life, the good life, the good life. Take off, show me the stars. Away from the lights, away from the lights in the city of flat broke. Show me the road to the good life, the good life, the good life.
Absolutely love this song. This is the workday release. So you remember David Ottestad? He had done like very kind of emo album, I think. It must be about 15 or 20 years ago now. And he had a lot of songs placed on MTV TV shows. I think it was Teen Mums or something like that. And he was doing great. And he still has a lot of plays from those songs. And when he came to me, he was a fan of The Fray and a lot of other records we had made like that. And so he wanted a more dense production. And I think this is probably the most dense thing we did. This was drums were cut at Sunset Sound, I believe, with the rhythm section. I want to say Victor Indrizzo and Sean Hurley. Was it Victor and Sean? I don't remember, but it was an amazing rhythm section. So if you get to mix this is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. If you're not already a member of the Academy, this is a really challenging multi-track to mix. Now, one of the things when we've talked about mixing this before is to not be afraid to change sounds depending on the situation, on the section, for instance. So I think what Paulo's done here, correct me if I'm wrong, Paulo, is do a nice job of the snare here.
The lifeless, dig deep, say what you think, and I'm not gonna follow. I'm not gonna follow. Take off, show me the stars. I'm ready to leave. I'm ready to leave.
Now, the snare changes a little bit there. I'm hearing some kind of more knocking, aggressive sound in that verse. I feel like the choruses could probably do a bit more of that arc, dark kind of sound into it. A little bit more ring, a bit more aggression. Thanks, Kiefer. Kiefer just donated $10. Thank you ever so much. We can use that to get a sandwich for lunch.
Take off, show me the stars. I'm ready to leave. I'm ready to leave the city of flat broke. Show me the road to the good.
So a lot of that snare is great. So what I would suggest, Paulo, is to go in there and find when it's aggressive and it's just cutting and figure out why. Now, if you're using a sample, maybe the sample's slightly misaligned. At certain times, there's a bit of phase cancellation. That can be what's happening. Maybe it's the relationship between a sample and the live snare. If you're using predominantly a live snare, maybe it's just a live snare in other places isn't hit as consistently. Whatever it might be, go and figure out why it sounds better in some places than the other and mimic that in the others. Because when it's just got that knocking aggressiveness on it, it makes the chorus lift. And this has been one of the bugbears of this song is to get the drums to always be moving because it's got a 4 on the floor groove going on there. And getting that relationship between the kick and the snare is a big deal. Check out the chorus with that in mind. Sean says so Eric can eat too. Yeah, we'll definitely buy Eric. He's doing is that a Canadian? So he's doing a Canadian American exchange rate there. I always thought Matt Diamante, I thought it was 40-1. No, I'm just joking. All right, here we go. Yeah, thank you very much. Anybody else? We have Lily here today as well, and Eddie. So if we want to get a couple more, we can get everybody lunch. Well, actually, in Los Angeles, we can get everybody a Diet Coke to go with their lunch. I went out for dinner last night. I've got to tell you this because most of you here are my friends. This is crazy. If there's one thing about this community is we all become fast friends. I would consider most of the people's names that are sitting up here as friends of mine. I know pretty much everybody. Working from the bottom to the top, we've got Sheila, who is a wonderful, wonderful human being. Ken Allen, who's amazing. Ray Mears, wonderful. Tim, Keith, Patrick, Jens. These are Melissa, of course, who's been in many of our videos. Chris Ibbotson, of course. I don't want to miss anybody out. Sean himself. There are so many people here that I would consider friends. Yeah. So what we're going to do, for those of you that are Academy members, we are going to do a meet and greet with Christian's Academy as well in Germany this year. And we're also going to do another one in the south of France. So, and these are going to be pretty awesome. So the south of France one will be a little bit more intimate because it's a residential place, so there'll be a little less people able to come. But the German one, as long we've got a hotel, Christians, I think, figured it out, that does like a really, really cheap rate. So all you have to do is get there and it will all be in one. We'll do like hotel, food, catered, everything. So stay tuned, Academy members, because we've been threatening to do this. Oh, look, Chris, wow, got some gas for the moving van. Keep up the good. Look at that, $50. Actually, between the 50 and the 2, we're pretty close to getting everybody's lunch. Long as we don't go too expensive. This is good. Eric, you can start thinking about what you want for lunch. Thank you ever so much.
I can eat.
You can eat. This is great. Anyway, yeah, it's so we're going to be doing some like meet and greets, get together kind of things, and of course some more master classes. The last one in the south of France was insanely good. Was so good. Moses Schneider came down as well. It's all about jam packed. The owner of Elysia and the designer of the transient designer came down as well and gave a little. It was pretty awesome. Who was at the masterclass in Limoux? It was amazing, and we're going to do many more there. Stay tuned. There's a lot more stuff coming up. But I did want to waffle on as I'm doing. I want to, with Paulo's mix, I think is absolutely superb. I think that the snare is the only constant thing. And I'm talking about it because everything else is so good. Go to this section in particular. Really love what he did here.
Wheels up, head for the future. No more us.
So what he did that's smart, and I didn't do on my mix, but what he did is like, so there was about 5 of us, 6 of us. I can't remember. Do you remember, Eric? And we were in the live room. What are we doing? Whatever the pattern is.
Wheels up, head for the future. No more rusty.
So we were doing this clapping pattern, and it was me and Eric and Sean Hurley and David, obviously the artist, and maybe David Levita was playing guitars on this. I don't remember. Sorry, David, if I'm forgetting you. But so we had all these incredible musicians, you know, doing this hand clapping. And the thing is, you pull up the room mics and you pull that up and you try and do this breakdown section. Oh, thank you ever so much for the extra. Oh, wow. This has been very generous. Everybody is having lunch. Go and tell them. We will go to Canada. Yeah, Sean, we'll come to Canada. We will come to Canada. Definitely. We love Canada. My wife and I, and my wife's never been to Canada. Karsh's never been to Canada. Eric, have you been to Canada?
No.
Actually, if I don't know, if Eric hasn't been somewhere with me, he hasn't been there. He's only been abroad with me. Where have we been? We've been to Iceland. We spent a few hours in Norway, didn't we?
Yeah.
Because David's real name, last name is Ottestad. That's what he says. And we were in Norway, and he's of Norwegian descent. And I said to the one of the ladies at a kiosk, I said, "How do you pronounce his surname, his last name?" And I spelt it out, and she went Ottestad, and he was like Ottestad. So it's Ottestad, and I was like, okay. It's like the drummer of the Fray. His last name, he says Wysocki, and my wife's Polish, and she says no, Wysocki. It's what we do. It's what us Anglo speakers do. Is we take names that aren't of Anglo descent and butcher them. My own name is Yuah, but it was Hewitt everywhere else in the world. All right. Anyway, love that mix, Paulo. Love what you did with those claps. So he took the claps and he narrowed them and made them all mid-rangey. Didn't make them so on top. Have a listen again.
Wheels up, head for the future. No more rust in here with the lifeless. Dig deep, say what you think, and we're not gonna follow. Take off, show.
I mean, that was wonderful. I think in my mix, I don't know where my mix is. I'm sure you can go online and find it. City Lights Workday release. It's on Spotify. My mix didn't have the drama that Paulo has created there. So Paulo, you really brought that down. and I love the way you treated I think it was brave. And it's another thing as well, is when you're mixing, sometimes it's like what Danielle did, it's enhancing and keeping the spirit. And other times you have to make some bold moves. You see what the producer and the band were trying to do, which in this instance was like bring down the section and have the hand claps. And in mine, it's all big and roomy and massive. And then when the chorus comes in at the end, it's a little anticlimactic because I just created this huge moment of hand claps and whoosh. And what Paulo did, and is a genius move, is just make it mid-rangey. And then listen one more time with that in mind. And I know it's subtle, but, you know, I meet people who talk about defining moments in mixes, and sometimes they're subtle. You know, David Bowie, Bob Clemente, you know, and that, you know, that delayed, you know, the morning and the day, while I die. What is that song? I try modern love. That guitar sound is a delay effect that Bob did, and it's one of the best things about that song, and it makes it move. So a mixer can occasionally really not just do a really nice mix and enhance and stuff, but can add some massive creativity. And I think Paulo did that. It's a simple thing, but I envisioned this as a big, roomy, hand claps, tons of people standing around the mics in a live room with tons of room mics. And Paulo, for me, if you can make that snare a little bit more aggressive, and I think a lot of people, if you haven't mixed this one in the Academy yet, remember there's a schnizzle ton of tracks. David was very happy to do overdubs and was very encouraging. There's a schnizzle ton, and I think he did an amazing job here, Paulo. Really, really good. Great, great work. All right, next up, and thanks you for all the lunch money. Next up is Raul Schumacher. What a great name. What a great name. You know, I'm a Formula One fanatic, so you can hit me with any classic driver's name, and I'm happy. All right. Next up is Raul. Hey, Raul. And Paul is a song about a childhood toy written by John King, Russ Sultan, and I at a recent songwriting masterclass. Oh my God, how did this got snuck in?
There's a little sneak in.
Ah, Eric did a little sneaky. So I've got to tell you what this is. So this is my good friend, Louise Goffin, who is a wonderful, wonderful songwriter, and I did a songwriting masterclass. Now, don't get me wrong, the emphasis was on Louise as a songwriter, but on the last day, we tracked the songs that were written in the masterclass. So let's read the rest of what she said. Warren and Louise produced this recording with Mike on drums, Clark Sims on bass, who's amazing, and electric guitar, Louise on piano, and vocals by Russ and Mikhail Seeley. Mikhail, obviously, you know Mikhail. By the way, we had a few people saying, hey, why is there no link to Mikhail's website under videos that we've done? Well, that's because she didn't have one. We just built it for her. So if you go to Mikhail Seeley, not now, please, go to mikhailseeley.com. She now has a new website. Go over there. Sign up for email list. She's awesome. We love her dearly. Wonderful talent. John, Russ, and I added some production afterwards, vocals, electric guitar, and strings. The intent was a Randy Newman vibe. Yeah, that's Louise played piano on it and did a wonderful job. And of course, the song is great. And this was written during the masterclass. So this is indicative of what we did. I think there was 4 groups times 2. So we had 8 songs written, I believe. Is that right, Eric? Was it 8 or was it 10? Can't remember. Okay, here's Raul's, the song that he wrote in the masterclass. Here we go.
Paul was a friend of mine in my early years. One side a smile, the other one a tear. Small in size, I won't forget his blue-eyed glow. One stretched deer and one stretched toe. Paul was with me all the time, was my partner in crime. We always stayed up late. Paul was a friend of mine. Paul was a friend. I tell you, when the school bell rang, I was running with a brand new gang while Paul was at home all alone. after school was done, the gang and I, we all moved on. Everyone went their own way. Paul was with me all the time, was my partner in crime. We always stayed up late. Paul was a friend of mine. Yeah, Paul was a friend of mine. Now life was not simple then. I had to move away again and again. But Paul was left behind, still on my mind. I need to get back to my friend. Paul was a friend of mine. Paul was a friend of mine. Paul and I are friends again. Every tear I'm gonna mend, gonna make him just like brand new. Looking at the years ahead, all the things we've left unsaid. Finally, that child is back home. Now Paul is a friend of mine, and I'll never leave Paul behind. Yeah, Paul is a friend of mine, and I'll never leave Paul.
Lovely. I think it's an absolutely beautiful song. So, you know how it's very Toy Story, very Randy Newman, because Paul is actually the name of a stuffed bear, a toy, like a toy bear. And so it's very Toy Story, very Randy Newman. Mikhail did a wonderful job singing along with Paul there, with Russ there. I'm mixing everybody's name up. And yeah, absolutely superb work. I think the mix itself could do with some work, but the song, I think the production's great. Obviously, Louise and I produced the basics, but I think the additional stuff that you did, Raul, is fantastic. I love the strings. I just, the bottom snariness of it is a bit too much for me, because I would need a little bit more attack from the top so I can hear what the movement's doing.
And again, but Paul,
All I'm hearing there is pss, pss, pss. And I don't mind hearing that, as long as I can hear snare top as well.
I had to move away again and again. But Paul,
And, you know, you hear the rumbling floor tom, but you don't quite hear the definition. You know there's a kick there, but you don't quite hear it. I think it just needs some work on the mix. I think your additional production stuff was really, really great. But yeah, that da-da-dum-ba-ba-ba movement needs to be exaggerated, or the song will feel like it's slowing down. So let's see if you can get a bit more tack on the tom, the floor tom there, and the toms in general, a little bit more attack on the kick, a bit more low-lows on the kick, some definition between the bass guitar, the floor tom, and the kick drum. The kick drum should be, for me, 50 or 60 hertz should be coming up, pulling up some 40 with it, but being careful not to boost too much 80 to 100, because that's where the bass is going to live, and in this instance, also the floor tom. So, you know, and when you've got multiple mics on a kick drum, there tends to be a bit of phase cancellation in the low lows, and you occasionally get like a build up in about 100 to 150. So make sure that that's cut a little bit, and that will allow the floor tom and the bass guitar to sing nicely. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful song. I think, you know, we had, I think, 8 or 10 songs written in that 3-day period in the songwriting masterclass. It was wonderful. This was one of the great songs that was done. There was many, many great songs. It was hard to pick which ones we recorded because some of them were so good. But I think in this instance, I like your additional production. I just want to hear a better mix. I think defining the low end, bringing the snare top up a little bit would be really great.
I had to move away again and again, but Paul was left behind, still on my mind. I need to get back to my friend.
There's a good question about sidechaining. I get asked that in different ways, so I'm gonna. That's Boudicca's question. It's a good question. Yes and no. I tend to slowly high pass the bass at about 60. I'm not talking about removing 60 hertz. I'm just talking about just start to like let the low end slowly die off. It's still there on the bass guitar. But yes, a lot of people like the idea of this jigsaw puzzle idea of mixing, meaning if you've got low end on a kick drum, like have that dip every time the bass guitar plays. I'm personally not a big fan of that. I've asked a few people that have been accused of doing it, like the way I said that. Jim Scott, there was once an interview where somebody said that Jim Scott always sidechained the kick and the bass guitar together. So when I worked with him on a record, he mixed an album for me, a wonderful album with Augustana called Can't Love, Can't Hurt. And I said to him, I was like, oh, do you sidechain the kick and the bass guitar? Because I read that you did. And he went, no, never done that. So I think there's a lot of misconceptions in that. I think in certain genres, like really, really dense EDM and dance music, metal, stuff like that, where you're trying to get it as loud as possible, that starts to happen. People do a little bit of that because they want that low end to be consistent and really super powerful, and they're trying to print everything like this. But I think in a song like this, no, not necessary at all. But you can do it. If you're doing an EDM track and you wanted this pumping low end and you wanted like, I might do it. And then what's happening is you've got a consistent low end like this. But in a song like this, I'm fine with the bass to kind of, share a bit of that low end. All I would do is just cut a little sort of 80 to 110 out of the kick drum just to allow the low end of the bass to shine. But I know what you're saying, and it's a good question. But the thing is, my answer always with these kinds of questions is like, know the genre and learn lots of different techniques how to do something. So know how to sidechain it and do that, but do it what's the song that needs it, as opposed to like applying that same technique on everything. Or you're going to end up with mixes that, just sound the same, continuously sound the same. And you're not addressing the individual genre of it. And the reason why I mentioned Spike Stent before, and I just to reiterate, was like, yes, he can mix a Beyonce song, and he can mix a Muse song, he can mix a metal song, he can mix a folk song. And that's what a great mixer will do. They don't just have a snare sample that they use on every track, on every album. And we've known that to happen. There's whole periods of time of like, emo rock kind of period where there was the same drum sound on album to album to album. And, that's fine. And it was good at the time, and it got radio play, and it served a purpose, and that's why those people were getting paid to do those records. But I think now we live in a lot more eclectic world where, God bless, accessibility. I know we all lament going down to the record store. I do. I love going down the record store with my list of 5 albums I want to buy, and I come out with 10, and none of them are the 5 that I want to buy. They're 10 different ones that I discovered while looking. I love that experience. It's great. But now we have the modern digital version of that, where a kid goes online, looks for an artist, looks for a song, finds it, and then goes down a rabbit hole and ends up liking 25 different other things of much more varied genres than we used to do, because the accessibility's there. So I think, you have to learn how to work on tons of different genres. There is a lot of work out there for people that know how to work in different genres and with different people. Different kinds of people. All right, next up is Mark Lowry. Mark says, hey there, this is my go at Steve's recording of a Dylan classic. I've used only one of the tracks he provided, e.g. piano, Hammond and Vox, and then I've given it a fairly straightforward treatment with a couple of reverbs and delays. There's some EQ compression and saturation work on these 3 instruments, along with a couple of lip smacks edits on the vocal. So Steve Majora has done about 20 songs inside of the Academy with multi-tracks as well. So Steve Majora, I'm sure you know, is an old friend of ours and is also the keyboard player and background singer and occasional lead singer. I think he sings on one lead song for Toto. So incredibly talented. So if you join the Academy, you get to also download songs that he's written and recorded as well, some of which I wrote as well with him. So Mark, looks like Bert got in and helped, and so did Chris. And so did Darren. Thank you, everybody that got in and helped, because that's a big part of our community, when you get in there and help each other out. All right, let's check it out. Mark Lowry's Make You Feel My Love. Sorry, Make You Feel My Love. And if I highlighted the right thing, here we go.
when the rain is blowing in your face and the whole world is on your case. I could offer you a warm embrace to make you feel my love. When the evening shadows and the stars appear, and there is no one there to dry your tears, I could hold you for a million years to make you feel my love. I know you haven't made your mind up yet, but I could never do you wrong. I've known it from the moment that we met. There's no doubt in my mind where you belong. I'd go hungry, I'd go black and blue, I'd go crawling down the avenue. No, there's nothing that I wouldn't do to make you feel my love. Storms are raging on the rolling sea and on the highway of regret. The winds of change are blowing wild and free. You ain't seen nothing like me yet. I could make you happy, make your dreams come true. There's nothing that I would not do. I'd go to the ends of the earth for you to make you feel my love, to make you feel my love.
Again, what we were talking about earlier was having an understanding of a song, and I actually think that's better the way he's done it, stripping it back. I think Mark did a fantastic job. So I challenge all of the Academy members. I've said this a few times actually with some of the multi-tracks that I provided. I mean, there's a few hundred songs in there, by the way now, like a lot, because we have about 140 of our stuff, then we have Steve's stuff, and then we have all the user-generated multi-tracks in there as well. So there's a lot of multi-tracks, a lot of lessons in there, a lot of chances to practice. So if you're thinking about joining the Academy, please do. You'll get a ton of stuff. But one of the things that I've said quite frequently is you don't have to pay respect to recording, especially if I've done something. It doesn't matter that, you know, I've got gold and platinum records. It doesn't mean that I'm a genius. It just means I'm a hard worker like yourself, and this was my chosen profession. I just did this, or I've done this for most of my entire life now, and that's how I've accumulated all this equipment and how I've got gold and platinum records. It doesn't mean that I'm a freaking genius. It just means that this is what I do. And so many people here watching are professionals. Some are pro amateurs. Some are in the middle doing it. And then some of you are amateur, but it doesn't make a difference because you've all got ears, you've all got creativity and ideas to express. And so much great art is made by people that aren't necessarily, you know, the most famous. And frankly, sometimes most of the great art is made outside of the handful of people. One of the criticisms that we've heard many times about the music industry in the early 2000s was that all the records sounded the same, because the same handful of people were making them. And you would buy those rock records and it'd be the same guitar, bass, drums, sound on every song. And there wasn't the variety of, say, something like Revolver, which is like, Got to Get You Into My Life, horn sections, Eleanor Rigby string sections, Yellow Submarine, acoustic guitar. You know what I mean? That is an album. Taxman, indie rock almost. You know what I mean? Because I'm the Taxman. What is the genre of Revolver? You know what the genre is? The Beatles. That's the genre. Great songs, great songs from all the members writing songs and performing them. And just that was what makes Revolver one of the greatest albums ever made. So when Mark does something like this, or Danielle makes these choices, or Paulo does something different in a section, Raul with his additions, whoever it might be, not trying to pick any one person, but makes creative decisions, that is a big deal. And I think it's something to this day that needs to be applauded and encouraged. Yes, learn the techniques. You will learn the techniques. If you hang out with us, you're going to learn the techniques. If you watch the videos, you will learn the techniques. That is just the beginning. The most important thing is the creativity that you bring to it. I don't mean turn it into a funk song when they've given you a death metal song. No. But do you want to make it groove a bit more? Yeah. You know what? There's some songs out there that need some groove, that are so unbelievably gridded and perfect and auto-tuned that they need some element in there. There might be a way that you can add that back in. Then there are other songs that are such a bleeding mess that maybe they do need a couple of notes auto-tuned. Maybe they do need a few of the stuff. The point is like, learn all the skills. It's why on Produce Like a Pro, like the other day, we brought in Ali Amek and we did some hip-hop stuff. And there was some people like, oh, you're doing hip-hop. I don't care. If you're going to be a jobbing producer, engineer, and mixer and make a living these days, which is quite possible, I have many friends you've never heard of that make money in music, you've got to learn a lot of different skills, which is why we're very balanced in what we show, and we don't have the wagging finger, ranting mentality of being superior to everybody. I love our community here because it's so diverse in all styles of genres of music and everything that we all get to help each other. So my whole long rant there was a bit of a rant. That was kind of a rant, wasn't it? Oh dear, I ranted. Oh dear. But my whole thing is to bring people together, and Mark did an amazing job of stripping it back and making it about the song. And I think by doing that, he brought the song, actually made me like the song more than the original production. That's a big deal. He made me like the song. Think about Everlong, Everybody knows Everlong, and it's a great song. But what made it massive? The acoustic Christmas version, didn't it? As when they did the K-Rock acoustic Christmas and they did a broken down version of it. That was on the radio when I first moved to LA, like every single day, hundreds of times a day. And that made everybody realize that Dave Grohl is an amazing songwriter. Everlong is an incredible song. It's an incredible song. And people realize because it went down to acoustic guitar and vocal. And if you can bring a guitar down to acoustic guitar and vocal and it still be amazing, this is what Mark did. He brought it down to piano and Hammond. And now suddenly I'm like, Steve, this is a great song. Let's listen again.
Mind up yet, but I could never do you wrong. I've known it from the moment that we met. There's no doubt in my mind where you belong. I'd go hungry, I'd go black.
Oh. CPU overload. All right. Anyway, I was getting self-indulgent there. I was probably going to listen to the whole song again. Absolutely wonderful, wonderful stuff. I really, really appreciate it. And there you go, Mark. I think you did what a great mixer would do. You took a song like that, and you made it great. You made it absolutely great because you understood what was great about it, and you featured the vocal, and therefore made the song really special. Great, great work. All right, next up is Franz. It looks like there's no comments, but it's Hope Your Dreams Come True. The Ron Ains. This is Lindsay's band. I saw Lindsay. She's here. I'm pointing like anybody can see me. Lindsay's in the chat. Say hi to Lindsay. This is Lindsay's band, everybody.
so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for the failure I've been. You're saying nothing. Your silence tells me what you really mean. I thought I knew you. I really thought that you were the one. Mistakes you got me. And not to find the loser I've become. When you said goodbye, I smiled, I didn't cry. And I don't hate you. I hope your dreams come true. Don't get too close. No. Don't get too close. No. Don't let it get too close to you. This time went by, the less you try. And all your dreams were just left to die. When you said goodbye, I smiled, I didn't cry. And I don't hate you. I hope your dreams come When you said goodbye, I smiled, I didn't cry. And I don't hate you. I hope your dreams come true.
That was funny. You see, you know how I said we're like, so many of us are friends here now. Lindsay is obviously an Academy member, but she donated these multi-tracks for us to use live. So we mixed the song live a couple of weeks ago, about 3 weeks ago, courtesy of DistroKid. So thank you, DistroKid, for sponsoring that. So that's really rather wonderful. And she also played drums on a cover of The Trooper, which is supposed to be coming out, was supposed to come out this week. So it's going to have to come out next week. So stay tuned for that, because we did a cover of The Trooper with some incredible musicians. I didn't play on it this time. Woohoo! We got Robbie Miller to play guitar on it. So Robbie, shout out to Robbie, play guitar on it. Adam Steele sang on it and also played bass on it. And Lindsay played drums, of course. So stay tuned for that. Oh, and Christian Kohler mixed it. So it's pretty freaking awesome. So those multi-tracks are going to be coming next week for everybody on in the YouTube universe, the YouTuberverse. Anyway, so it's going to be in the YouTuberverse. I don't know. I'm an idiot, aren't I? I might have to ask Eric really politely, because we haven't figured out how to get the AC individually working in this room, so it's rather warm. Yep. Could you get me a cold Diet Coke? What do you mean? There better be some left. What? I need a cold Diet Coke to cool me down. That's a wonderful mix. I only have one comment. I think a little bit of low mids tucked out of the drums. Lindsay's here. We should ask her, because she's the drummist. She's the drummer on it. I feel like they're just a little bit low mid thick for me. Have a listen.
silence tells me what you really mean.
It's like do 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 do. I want to hear a bit more brightness to it, like ka ka ka. A little bit more mids and a bit more high end, and a little less kind of. It's like very low middly.
Your silence tells me what you really mean.
Yeah, a bit more air to that snare, a bit more 7, like 7 and above, a bit more on that. Just in general, it felt like there was a bit sort of 300-400-ish in the drums, so scooping out a little bit of that to get a bit more bright and attack. Right, okay, we forgot. We were going to do a giveaway. We're going to do a giveaway for a year's membership of the Academy. If you're already an Academy member, you'll get an extended year. If you're a lifetime member, you can go to ProMix Academy and pick up any course you like. And there's some freaking long-ass amazing courses in there. Amazing courses in there. Stay tuned. There's a lot of really good stuff coming up. We have a massive course coming up soon. We have that big mastering course. If you haven't got in on it, get in on the big mastering course because we've got other mastering engineers adding courses to it. So if you're already a member of the Gavin Lurson and Ruben Cohen mastering course, there are going to be more people added to it, which is going to be pretty awesome as well. They're obviously the big cheeses on that one, but there will be other stuff coming up. We're filming some great content. We filmed some great content, which is going into it. So please join that one. We have an amazing one coming with a really hugely talented person soon. And then another one coming after that. We've got these really big kind of life-changing courses. And they're incredible value for money, by the way. Not, I don't want to get into it. I really want this. It's important to me to make sure the stuff is affordable and really speaks to people and really genuinely helps them. So for me, get rid of some of that low mids and that low end on the snare. Just get a little bit more body in there and a bit more bite and a little bit less low mid. Same thing with the toms. Have a listen. It's not bad, doom. It's a little bit. You could pull out a little bit more 350 on those toms, but I think the standards to be brighter. Definitely a lot brighter. Is there a Diet Coke?
Yes.
Oh, the car should bring donuts.
Yes. You have a choice.
I'm not yet. I'll eat a donut in a second. You know I want the chocolate one, but so do you.
Okay, good.
But so do you.
No,
I'm gonna eat a chocolate donut, which I should not be eating. I'm going to eat a chocolate donut on the next one. We might have to turn the camera off. I don't know if anybody wants to see me going like bits of donut stuck to my face. Like, yeah, and that was a great mix. No, maybe not that. All right, cut some low mids out of those drums, get them to bite. Otherwise, a freaking awesome mix. There's another thing about this mix that I love is it kept it very indie. It didn't get too polished. We have to be careful when you're working with like indie artists and stuff like that is not to get too professional sounding. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't want low end, you don't want bite, you don't want excitement. Of course you want all those things, but you don't want it to sound so perfect and pop that you forget the kind of artist you're working with. We should be, keeping it indie, a little wrong, a little distorted, and they're all not quite right. Make sure you maintain that energy, because if you take something that's kind of indie recorded, indie rock, and polish it so much, it sounds completely out of place. I think another thing is like when I'm working with young artists, I don't want them to sound old. When I'm working with old artists, I don't want them to be auto-tuned and timed so much that they sound like they're trying too hard to sound young. You need to enhance what's there. And I think that's what's been very successful with all of these mixes so far is they're doing a great enhancement of what is there. But the drums, I want a little bit more bite on it, a little bit more snap, a little less low mid. And everything else was pretty cool. I liked the bass sound. It was a little kind of honky, don, 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 don. I just thought it worked perfectly. It reminded me of the Pixies. Very Pixies, and that is a really good thing to say. Paul Motion up next. Paul says, it's been a while since I posted. There's been quite a few other things going on. Love this song, which is always a little nerve-wracking, so I wanted to make sure I get it right. A few things I'm not happy with, and the track hasn't been mastered yet. The recorded tracks are pretty great, so it did make things a fair bit easier. On the master bus, Townhouse compressor, we love that. And yeah, lots of other great stuff. So check that out. Looks like Chris Ibbotson got in and helped. Thank you, Chris. Chris got in more, and so did Darren. So thank you, everybody in the Academy that got and went in and helped everybody. All right, Eric, I need you to turn off the camera while I eat this. I do not want to be seen to be stuffing down this. He doesn't know how to do it. Hey, here we go. All right. I announced the competition and then didn't give you the question. I got distracted with the delicious donuts that came in. Delicious donuts that came in. I forgot to ask the question. So that you know what the prizes are? 1 year membership of the Academy, increased 1 year membership if you're already a member, and if you're a lifetime member, which we have a lot of lifetime members, hundreds of them. If you're a lifetime member, you get any ProMix Academy course, and there's lots of very nice ones in there. Oh, by the way, it's the last day for the Mark Martell course. If you're a singer or you want to learn how to teach people to sing really, really well, check out the Mark Martell course. There is a link somewhere which I think Eric is going to put up. Okay, what was I going to say? What was the question? What should we ask?
Favorite donut.
Favorite donut. Eric asked it. What is your favorite donut? And if you don't like donuts, you can say, I don't like donuts. But if you do like donuts, what is your favorite kind of donut? No right or wrong answer. It's just, well, all the answers are right. What is your favorite donut? If you don't like donuts, say you don't like donuts. There you go. We've done food ones before. Here we go. And Eric will choose somebody at random by the end of the song. Please mute my face while I stuff this donut down, please. Eric, thank you.
Slow
All right, we can have the camera back. Okay. You didn't have to watch me rather badly stuff down a donut. Did we have a winner?
We do. It is Idaho Turtle with chocolate-covered Bavarian cream-filled Bismarck.
Oh, that just sounds delicious.
It does.
Chocolate-covered Bavarian cream-filled Bismarck. I've got to be honest. Oh, when I was in, I was in Germany just recently, but when I was in Germany in 2019, I've been several times since, but I do remember having something that sounded pretty close to that. I don't know if it was exactly that, but it was delicious. The Germans, the Deutsch, really do know how to do desserts with cream in it. Let's be honest. Anybody who's been to Germany or is obviously German, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Anyway, so congratulations, Idaho Turtle. And you have, if you're, of course, you are a member. I recognize you. Yeah, you'll get some additional. Yeah, are you a lifetime member? If you're a lifetime member, go to ProMix Academy and pick anything you like. We will do a couple more competitions before the end. Definitely at least one more. So stay tuned to the end. I really, really liked this. This is, strangely enough, talking about Mark Martel. This is Chris Lipe who's singing on this. Jamie Humphreys, a wonderful, wonderful talent who has Six String Alliance. You should check out that channel if you haven't already. Probably the best guitar teacher around. Check it out, Six String Alliance. You want to put a link to that? Go to Six. Has everybody here signed up for Six String Alliance? There's lots of really good stuff coming. There will be a lesson on how to play the Trooper from Robbie Miller on that channel. I don't talk about it enough, but now I will. Six String Alliance. He's going to find it for you. YouTube, Six String Alliance. He's going to put the link. If you haven't already, please go over there and subscribe and stay tuned. Really good things coming. Jamie's been in lots of our videos, some of our biggest videos. The Van Halen one we did, which got like 500,000 views. He's playing all the guitars in that. There's quite a few he's done, which are pretty phenomenal. Really super talented, absolutely wonderful, wonderful guy. And go check out his channel. Please subscribe to it. All right. And I'm sure you're already subscribed to Chris Lipe. If you're not, go to Chris Lipe. So Chris sung this. The only issue I really have with this is a lack of dynamics. So listen to the top. So that works, first of all. The original had that huge guitars come in. And if you remember, when I broke down the mix, I was actually comparing it to the original. And the original, the drums get quite chewed up by the guitar sound. So I suppose what I'm hearing is the big guitars coming in. And I like the... But I want to hear more low-lows on the kick. I want to hear that thumping. I want to hear those big guitars need to come up around it. It should be... Grom. When I mixed this track is I needed the ringing snare to be so loud, so aggressive, because the heavy guitars suck it up. But I think this is a battle that you have to fight. You need to fight this battle. You need that snare to be loud and proud and aggressive, and those guitars to be huge at the same time, and the low end on the kick to be massive, and the clickiness on the kick to be massive, and a little bit of grind and grit on the bass. You need all of those things. It's that song. It needs to be... This is the one that you need to get into a fight with. Paul, I want you to have a battle. I want you to go to war and aggressively overdo everything and then try to make it work. That's what this song is. It's really a case of like massive drums, huge thumping bass with aggressive. Guitars are perfect, but those big guitars need to come up around it. Snare needs to be ringing like crazy, like going, going. So when it's in the track, it cuts. You won't hear that ring in the track. You won't, but if you can get it to be there with enough room on it so it's really super aggressive, I think you're going to have a great, great mix. All right, great. Thanks, Paul, for doing that. And welcome back with mixing. I love hearing your work. Matthew Wood is next. And by the way, so, what do we want to do? So, I think what would be really, really good is to do another giveaway. We did favorite donut. What? Eric got the last one. What about favourite non-healthy drink? I don't think a Diet Coke is particularly healthy. I don't think coffee's particularly healthy. And I drink tons of tea, and I don't think that's particularly healthy either. Healthy would be carrot juice and wheat juice and, wheatgrass, and water. Those are the healthy ones. What's your favourite non-healthy drink? But non-alcoholic, non-healthy drink. Mine is definitely Diet Coke. As you can tell, probably had too much caffeine today. Yep, too much caffeine. Anyway, now too much caffeine. I don't want to talk about. Anyway, so what's your favourite non-alcoholic, non-healthy drink? Eric will pick at random. This is crazy. We normally do music-related stuff, but not today. Today is for anybody. Matthew Goode says, I had a lot of fun mixing this song by the gallery. All feedback is welcome. Happy Sunday. And Darren got in and helped. All right, let's check it out.
Tattoos and scraped knees. I'm lost in a dream. Can anybody out there hear my screams? 'Cause I've been yelling at the top of my lungs. Now I'm shooting out my loudest gun. You could only hear the sound in this white noise town.
So it's a really good mix. I think a little bit of what I was explaining about to Paul's mix applies here as well. It needs to be it's loud and proud, but I need more aggression in the drums. Like, listen to where the drums come in. So don't. It should be ja ka ka. You know what I mean? It just needs to be a more aggressive snare. It needs that snare to be biting and hitting you over the head and just be like screaming at you like ka 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 ka. Now it could be a couple of things. You could definitely bring up the room mics. That's my old room. I cut How to Save a Life and half of the Aerosmith record in, so I know that room well. And it's a big drum sound, a really big drum sound, big room, big drum sound, and I want to hear that. So da 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 da. That needs to be like, yeah, we're in a big drum room. Let's get that exciting. And then I think for me, let's go here. It's a little too soft on the kick. I need some clickiness on the kick. I need some snap. Some 2.5 would be really good. If you want to go to 7 and above, you're going to go metal, but I think 2.5 makes more sense to me. It also feels like there's a lot of like low end on the kick at the 80 to 100 when I think it should be more 60 to 40. Pinpointing 60, bringing up 40 is kind of a little bit of a, bit of a happenstance because you're boosting that. do that, I think you'll build a little bit more aggression into the rest of the instruments. Start with that, get in there, get the low-lows on the kick, get the aggression on the kick, the snap, cut some 80 to 110 so the bass can breathe. Give me more room mic on the snare in particular, maybe a little bit of verb if you're not getting what you like out of it. A little bit more attack on the snare. It's a little, a little polite. Get me some room on there. Get me a bit more aggression. See if you can find where the ring is, maybe in a 600-700 area. Maybe just put in a little bit of that up. Just to get a little bit more excitement. Just a little bit polite. And I think the politeness will be gone if you build it from the drums up. Otherwise, a great mix. And it's balanced, don't get me wrong. I just think the drum sound needs to be more aggressive, and that will make it more exciting. So who won the best non-alcoholic, non-healthy drink, meaning not wheatgrass or carrot juice or what? Who won?
Isaiah Sims said, root beer when I'm feeling wild.
Root beer when I'm feeling wild. Love it. I love it. That's so cool. Root beer when I'm feeling wild, says Isaiah. Great name, by the way. Okay. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, everybody who's here doing this. Here is my mix of the gallery. Who is in the right? Who's in the right place? Multitracks. Comments are welcome as usual. Ray Mears got in and helped. I think Ray's here today, isn't he? I see Ray names. And so did Darren, and Damian got back in, and yeah, that's fantastic. All right, good. Should we do one more giveaway? Let's do one more giveaway. Eric's been asking all the questions. Eric's been asking all the questions. Oh, do you play an instrument? If so, what instrument do you play? If you don't play an instrument, you can say, I don't play an instrument. Let's know a little bit more about it. And if you play multiple, you can put them in an order. Like somebody said to me, what instruments you play? I say all of them, but in descending order. You know, guitar, bass, mandolin, any stringed instruments, banjo, then piano, then drums. Drums is down here somewhere. So it's like guitar style, stringed instruments, and bass, everything. Then keyboards down in the middle, and then the very bottom, really low, is drums. Not a particularly good.
Isn't that where we belong? Down a road only hope can take us, singing songs of peace and love, singing now. Heavy hearts, they won't escape us. We cross the line when it gets blurred. Why can't we, if God forgave us? A fight's a fire, we both feel burned. We'll drop bombs all day and night to show who's in the wrong and who's in the right. Who's in the wrong and who's in the right. Empty looks on empty faces, with something stolen from our soul, seeking gold in foreign places, never failed to sup its store. Once again we raise our voices, give us what we're looking for. The world's a product of our choices. Will we choose to stop this war? We'll drop bombs all day and night. Oh yeah, who's in the right? Who's
So an interesting mix. It works. So here's a whole part of the discussion, isn't it? Because so earlier we talked about how there was some really, really good ideas being put in there, like some creative decisions. The hand claps being narrowed made that more dramatic breakdown in the Workday Release song, for instance. And we've really been really complimentary about that. This one's an interesting one for me because this is taken a guitar kind of indie guitar meets Tom Petty song and made it very keyboard heavy, very Hammond organ-y. And it works, but I miss the guitars. Have a listen.
Who's in the wrong? Yeah. Who's in the right? Who's in the wrong? Yeah. Who's in the right?
I mean, that's being driven by Hammond, drums, and bass.
Sing it now. Who's in the wrong? Yeah. Who's in the right? Who's in the wrong? Yeah.
You can hear that acoustic, yes, but you don't hear any electrics at all.
Sing,
They're there, but they're like, meep.
sing it now. Who's in the wrong? Yeah. Who's in the right? Who's in the wrong? Yeah. Who's in the right? Who's in the wrong? Yeah. Who's in the right? Who's in the
I like hearing the harmony there, but again, the harmonies, little buried. Sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not there. I think for me, this is a tough one because I understand that Damian's presenting a different version of the track. And one could argue, that it could be carried by the Hammond bass and drums, which it essentially is. But I do miss having that guitar element to it. It just adds some of the excitement. This is a tough one for me because I want to encourage the kind of creativity that goes on. With the Steve song where everything was stripped out except for the Hammond and the piano, that was great. And I think Damian is on the right track, thinking creatively, and it works. It does work. But maybe even if the electrics only come in for the chorus to help lift it, that might solve the problem for me. Just give it a, it's a tough one. That's Zach Ray on Hammond. Zach Ray is a freaking genius. He's one of the best keyboard players in the world. Look him up. Z-A-C-R-A-E. Z-A-C-R-A-E. Look at his resume. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. He's played with Beck. He toured with Beck. He's played with Niles Barkley, Postal Service. What's the Postal Service band called? Def Cab for Cutie. I mean, he is world renowned. One of the best keyboard players I've ever worked with in my life. And so, yeah, it's no doubt that you like his part because the guy's a freaking genius. I mean, I don't mean that seriously to just. I'm not using that flippantly. I did a session once with Anna Nalick. Remember Anna Nalick, Breathe? And I had a co-producer on the project who was an A&R guy. And I hired my friends, the great John Button, Blair Sinter, and of course Zach to play on it. And I think David Levita played guitar on it, who's a phenomenal guitar player. So I had this incredible band lineup. And we were playing back the tracks. And everybody was sitting there making notes as it was being played down. Zach appeared not to be listening and was asking me questions about some of the mic pre's and compressors in the back. And he was asking me, blah, 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 what do you think of this? And he goes, I've got one of those, but I was thinking about buying one of that. And this was at Conway, like a $2,000 a day studio. And we were having to pay rent on the tube mic. So it was really expensive. So the A&R guy / co-producer is very nervous. He's seeing the keyboard player who's supposed to be writing down the chords to these songs that we're recording, not even paying attention. And so he's looking at me like, what's going on? What's going on? Anyway, you know what I'm going to say. We go in, and the only person that played the songs right first time was, yes, you guessed it, Zach Ray. The guy is a musical genius. He has the best ear of anybody I've ever worked with. You could hum a melody quietly 4 blocks away, and he'll hear it and remember it. He has an incredible ear, and an amazing keyboard player. So I get it. You're probably right. This is a way to showcase it one more time.
Sing it now. Who's in the wrong? Yeah. Who's in the right? Who's in the wrong? Yeah. Who's in the right? Who's in the wrong? Yeah. Who's in the right? Who's in the wrong? Yeah. Who's in the right?
It's a tough tough one. I think background vocals could come up in general. I mean, I get it. You're leaving room for when the lead parts come in. You're making me think, Damian. You're making me think. But I do think a selective, judicial amount of electric guitars in those choruses would really, really help it. But, you know, everything about the way Zach plays, his use of the Leslie cab, the speed he's got it rotating at, he's one of the most talented, instinctive keyboard players of all time. So, but I think you should add a little bit of electric guitars in there just to differentiate and bring up the backgrounds, because I think they're a really nice melodic moment. Great mix, though, and you got me thinking, but that's good. It's good to challenge. All right, who won?
M.
And what was the answer?
I am a professional bass player, a practicing drummer, a pedestrian guitarist, and a pathetic pianist.
Wow. I mean, my order's different to yours, but I like all those answers, the way of looking at it. I'm a pathetic drummer, so I understand. Very, very nice. Patrick, congratulations. All right. Kristoff is the last, but definitely no means least, with Ain't No Sunshine. And Chris says, "Is my mix of Ain't No Sunshine? I used the awesome drum tracks and tried to make it cozy and vibey." Oh, we like that, cozy and vibey. It looks like both Dan and Ray got in and helped, and so did Darren. Thank you ever so much, everybody that got in and helped on the mix. Here we go.
No sunshine when she's gone. It's not home when she's away. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. She's always gone too long. Anytime she goes away, wonder this time where she's gone. Sunshine when she's gone. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. Only darkness every day. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone, and this house just ain't no home. Anytime she goes away, anytime she goes away, anytime she goes away.
Really quite tasty. Really quite tasty indeed. That's who's is that? That's Michael. Michael Humphreys, who texted me watching. I will text you back.
Hey, I'd leave young thing alone. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone.
So Eric's going to put up a link to the original video now. It's Clark on bass, who's phenomenal. Michael Humphreys, who's still, I think, under 24, still phenomenal guitar player. I've known Michael since he was 15 or 16. I was working with his sister, who is a world-class ballerina at Boston Ballet. Insane. I think she's not quite the top person yet, and she's probably only 2 years older than him. So she's probably like 25 or 26. Incredibly talented family. He's a world-class jazz piano player and jazz guitar player. He also was a musical director for a couple of really big artists and just insanely talented. So check him out. If you go to Eric's put up the video, go to the video, download the multi-tracks. If you're not an Academy member, you can get them from there. I really love this mix. I think it's a tough one because the djembe that's being played, you know, you can't go too crazy on the low end of it, but there's a part of me that just wants to hear a bit more It's pretty good. I'm going to crank it in my headphones for a second. So the question is, Eric, who put the strings in? Has that been added by Kristoff, or were they originally in there? I don't remember. I don't actually remember. Kristoff, if you put the strings in, wonderful. I think maybe I would probably mess up the paddiness of them a little bit. I would probably add some like delays with like detune kind of stuff, maybe even some phasing. Just make it sound a little less, you know, string paddy, a little bit more wild and wonderful 70s. That's what I'd want to hear. And the vocal, of course, by Mikhail is fantastic. And again, MikhailSeeley.com. She now has a website. We got it built for her because she's been a wonderful artist, so we are supportive of our artists, so we built her site for her. So it's Mikhail Seeley, MCKAIL, Seeley is SEELY. I think Eric is looking for a link here. So go there. So today's lesson is go and sign up for Mikhail Seeley's list. She will be doing some more music with us soon, I'm very sure. Wonderful talent. Also, Six String Alliance on YouTube. Go check that out. And Kristoff, you did an amazing job here. I really, really like it. I really like it. I would just mess that pad up a little bit. I do like the low lows. You can't get it to be any more thumpy than that. That's pretty tasty. And of course, Clark Sims is a wonderful bass player. Wow, what an incredible week. And we're in the new studio. Sorry about the audio. I know a couple of people complained they couldn't hear me talking. Unfortunately, we're not on a clip-on mic. We're still in a complete stage of rebuilding. You know, it's hard. And maybe, Eric, you can pick up the camera for 1 second just for the outro. Eric, I can't move from the mic because nobody will be able to hear me.
This on right there.
Okay. But if Eric can show a little bit about what's going on. One more time, we've got the Audient ASP 4816